hello, and yay to a new episode of Shittywebcomics Weekly, as usual, brought to you by our backers on Subscribestar. Linked in the description below, where you can get access to a bunch of secret videos that you can't watch anywhere else. But more importantly, you can support us. Also, if you want to suggest a webcomic or ask a question, you can check out our Curious Cat below. Anonymous and questions are always open. I almost called them asks, like they were in the gay Tumblr days.
I was thinking of them as asks.
Yeah, I do too, even though I think, questions is a better way to put it, I
It's
guess.
basically just a way to chat. It's long range chat.
Well, a way to send us a message, anyways. But the thing is, we don't check the Curious Cat too often. We're kind of saving it up for later. There is a bunch of stuff saved up, and we plan to do, some kind of podcast episode where we answer all the questions. But today we just wanted to do another pre-recorded episode that will probably go up in a few weeks, where we just cover a couple of these comics. I'm not even sure who did this one, but it's something I think you found on Paul, of course.
Of course.
Or somewhere on the chans, of course. But it starts off, people don't look at a ripped guy and think, wow, this guy's so strong, he must be some kind of warrior chieftain or a great guy. Nope. We think immediately the kind of language, the weird kind of fruity, passive-aggressive phrasing is always inherent in these kinds of comics, of course.
Yeah, very unnecessary, flowery, pretentious, and also it's also a bit straw-man-y.
It's also attempting to sound... the way they try to sound dismissive is always like a very limp-wristed way. Where just like, nope, we don't actually think that. Here's what we really think. And it's like, but who cares what you think? Nobody cares what you think. If you didn't have a comic, nobody would know what you think.
Your own family doesn't care what you think.
Which is unironically, like, that's not you just throwing some shade or whatever. But that's actually in real life. Usually their own family members don't even want to talk to them because they're annoying people.
Especially if they don't live in the city. This is going to be how people from the city view everybody else.
Yeah, one of the recent memes that I think is worth really taking off is just a disdain for people who live in big cities, or the concept of big cities, and seeing big cities as a place that are like inherently in a state of collapse and fucking constant anger, and people are inherently more depressed and more angry and more at odds with each other just because they live in a large city than people who don't. Which I'm sure is all objectively true and quantifiable.
We already know that. We already know that's true.
We know that. Yeah. That's pretty obvious.
Nobody needs to tell me that.
So, but anyways, going on with this comic is nope, we think that guy spends a lot of time in the gym, and if we're being judgmental, we might think that guy's life must be pretty damn boring if he could devote it to lifting every piece of metal, which, anyone smart knows that's automatically that's not true. Any smart person knows that somebody goes to the gym and exercises and puts on a lot of muscle may or may not be boring. Like making any judgment just based on that is for low IQ people.
It's automatic jealousy. You're automatically jealous, and you're giving yourself away.
There's jealousy signaling, but there's also like idiocy signaling and ignorance signaling, and also prejudice. Basically, what this comic is a leftist admitting that they're prejudiced and not really even be smart enough to tell.
Not even knowing. Not even being capable of the realization.
They're not smart enough for postjudice. But also, it's one of those people who would say that they're against prejudice, too, as they're then, displaying how they're prejudiced. And there's obviously, like, I've seen comics where people like, I'm prejudiced about this thing, but it is a prejudice, and it's like, It's one of my flaws. When somebody embraces or at least accepts, is like I'm a flawed person. I have this as a flaw.
That would have actually made for a good comic, and maybe
Yes.
even a funny comic, is to admit that. To just straight up admit that up front. Yeah, this is a prejudice of mine. I'm
And that's something
strange.
I would
Or I'm
expect
probably wrong.
from like R. Crumb, and it's interesting. I've seen a lot of leftists just despise R. Crumb, even though he himself is pretty much a leftist. He's like fucking almost acid casualty hippie, like that close to being an acid casualty. Either a hippie or a former hippie who just gets hit with the misogynist brush just because and I think racist a few times just because he portrayed those
Mo
things in
racism.
his comics.
Some natural amounts of Mo racism.
But there's also that's the some of the early examples of Reachy Reach, of course, is Crumb is a misogynist. Crumb hates women, disrespects women. Crumb is racist because it's like you portray a thing in a comic, you must
He made a
actually
joke.
believe in
He
that.
made a joke, or he thought about something you're not allowed to think about.
Or not even he thought about it. It's like he'll do a character does this, and it's pretty obvious that the it's supposed to be a bad thing, but people are like, oh, it's portrayed in a comic, so he must actually believe it when it's obvious that he
He
doesn't.
clearly
Again,
hates minorities.
and that's the kind of person who would think that is kind of comes through in the person who made this comic too, of course. And again, I don't know who this could be. There could be a bunch of people who like do comics for Vice or fucking. I think there was one called The Nib that was very blatantly like constant straw man arguments, constant prejudicial behavior. Which prejudice is wrong unless you're a genius. Usually, though, in that case, it becomes post-judice.
Prejudice is not the same thing as discrimination. A
Yeah.
lot of people don't get that, which goes to show how much smarter I am than they are and how stupid they are in general.
Like discrimination is, to use an example that I invented, discrimination is why you don't simply walk out into a busy street because you are discriminating against all those cars going past. If you're discriminating, you're using a value judgment, and it depends on what you're doing it for, but it's not inherently a bad thing. In fact, usually it is the correct thing. And prejudice is a part of that to an extent, but prejudice is to make a decision. It's like prejudice would be like saying, as opposed to discrimination. Discrimination is not walking out into the busy road of traffic. Prejudice is assuming that the road will be busy with traffic either at a specific time of the day or just in general, so therefore you're not going to walk out into it. That's prejudice. And then post-judice, of course, is going to actually see, like discrimination, it's going to actually see the road's busy. So I'm not going to simply walk out in front of it where I could be flattened by multiple cars and trucks and buses and whatever.
Prejudice is it's fucking 8:30 a.m. I'm going to walk into the middle of a busy fucking main road and no one will hit me.
Yeah, that can be
Prejudice.
prejudice also. It's making that decision before you've the thing is that again prejudice can be correct where say your prejudice is I'm going to go out at 2 in the morning and cross this road that's normally busy because I'm prejudiced, making the prejudiced assumption that at 2 in the morning it won't actually be busy. And you may be right sometimes. Usually, though, that's based off of some kind of foreknowledge. So again, there's an element of
I'm
post-judice.
trying to cross the street and there's a black guy coming my way. I'm going to go across the street just in case he feels like chimping out.
Yeah,
That's
exactly. That's
prejudice.
an example of prejudice. And the thing is that you can say that's wrong. You can certainly make all sorts of arguments. You can go over all the arguments, and we're not going to. But the thing is that unless you're actively harming somebody, it really is not important. People pretend falsely that things like that are important, but the fact is that it's the same way that the gazelle would be prejudiced against a lion or something like that. And I know people are gonna fucking even not intentionally misunderstand that comparison. They're like, "Oh, you're saying that black people are the lion," that kind of shit. That stupid
No,
shit.
that is very stupid. Black people are definitely not the lion.
Yes,
White people are the lion.
white people are not gazelles either. Black people also are not gazelles. What I'm saying is that there's sort of like the gift of fear, the whole concept of things that are innately rooted in the instincts of every animal's brains, every animal that has ever existed and will ever exist. So if you're saying those are wrong, you're saying that animals are wrong, essentially. That you're saying that instincts are wrong, and even if instincts are wrong, they still exist for a reason, and not understanding that there's a reason that they exist is in fact a form of idiocy. It's an example of having a lower IQ.
Such,
They actually can't
such,
measure for that level of intelligence. But if
such
you
a
don't
feeling.
understand that, you actually have a lower form of intelligence that they can't measure for.
It's idiocy.
Yeah. Anyways, the last panel here says, "Guess what? I could go to the gym too, but I'd rather read a book, draw a picture." This is very hello, my fellow creatives. My fellow creatives. When we look at a cloud, we see all sorts of animals and shapes. Whereas when the
When
normie looks at the
normals
cloud, they
when the
just see a
normal
cloud.
people look when the normal people look into an oven, they just see a turkey baking. But creative people, when they look into an oven, they don't see that. They see something
They
else
see
in the oven.
all sorts of different possibilities. But anyways, this guy's like, I'd rather do. And it's like, yeah, fine, go ahead and do those other things rather than go to the gym if you want. But the whole thing is, I'd rather live a curious life than a muscly one. And it's like, you don't actually know that they don't. Again, that's prejudice, and it shows that you're a lower IQ. You have a fucking
And you'll
lower thing.
probably be dead by age 40.
Yeah, well, hopefully,
Hopefully.
inshallah, as they say. Um, But anyways, again, it's all part of this very
He
obvious
is
smugness.
he
It's
is
very played out. This comic
he is
is not
very
showing anything new
liberal.
that we hadn't already been annoyed by for many years before. I'm sure anyone looking at this has already been annoyed by this kind of shit for a long time too.
He is, Allah forgive me for saying this word, an artist.
Yes, exactly. Um, this fucking comic ends with, in 50 years we'll all be saggy, but he'll be saggy and boring, and he'll probably still be alive for another 50 years
First off,
past.
he'll actually be in better health than you'll
Yeah,
ever be. He won't have medical bills, and he won't actually be saggy
yeah.
at age 50
But
because
even if
he
he
can
does, yeah, again, it's like,
his
isn't
skin's
it
gonna
his
look
life to
better.
lead? That's the thing. Another thing, it's very judgmental, but it's also like, how does this harm you in any way? And it doesn't. And it's funny because that used to be the leftist, the liberal
Yeah,
viewpoint.
it's not hurting him. All my audience has turned into sassy black women. It's not hurting anyone. In this case, though, it's doing the opposite of hurting people. It's helping them by reducing the burden on the healthcare system.
But even if it wasn't doing that, it's if to be honest, if the guy instead of exercising was doing if he was like eating like a pig and being unhealthy, I wouldn't be like, oh no, the fucking, well, you're gonna be really fat. Most people, like fucking even fit people and people on Paul, don't even judge people that way either. Like a lot of that's a straw man too. And maybe they deserve to be judged that way. Um,
Maybe, definitely.
but anyways, the fucking, I guess this next part though is harming someone because it's just an edit that's Cope more fucking manlet and the guy's just getting punched.
As he's getting his entire fucking skull cracked.
His head is deforming. I think blood is exploding out of his body behind him. Either that or it's just fucking, it's just the fucking selection tool.
Just dead.
But
It's just
also then, for some reason, just another panel by the same artist. This means this. White whale, man boobs, ew, my eyes, yuck, gross, haha. I don't know what the fuck this is part of, but it's clearly insecurity on display from the artist and possibly at this point now deserved. See, that's one thing is that usually, say you're a fat person, you eat like a pig, you're not healthy. Most people aren't going to judge you as a person. They're not going to say, wow, you must be a really boring person who fucking sits around, or even that you're an interesting person or whatever. Um, most people don't prejudge about most of that shit. Most people don't even racially prejudge, especially these days where racism was solved. Good job. Um, but yeah, that's the thing is that it's always these people who are fucking prejudiced and act like prejudice is bad, and then they're the most prejudiced of all. And I figured it would be worth just popping up real quick for an episode of Shitty Web Comics, and then at the same time ending with this one where I guess on the same note, probably from the same thread where you link these all at once. Um, the first panel is fucking. It's funny because it's skinny manlet, looking at poster of hot naked chick, wishing he could be with hot naked chick, and that he was in shape. So he starts lifting weights. The first panel actually has him wearing a Flash T-shirt. Oh boy.
He's a cape weeb.
But he then next, no more Flash T-shirt. He's
This actually
lifting
reminds me,
weights.
by the way, maybe we should actually put Lunar Baboon back on the queue.
Oh yeah,
Lunar
we were thinking about doing that. Maybe I'll do
back on
that.
the menu.
Um, but anyways, the continuation of the comic, it's kind of funny because as he lifts more weights, he gets taller, which doesn't happen. It's
Yeah,
fucking.
no.
It's
Not
like
unless it was like
I don't
60.
know if it's a fucking delusion because I think some really stupid people might actually believe that, but the thing is that it might be
There
just
are a
part of
lot
the
of stupid
joke of this
people out there.
comic too.
But yeah, especially with fit memes and the fitness board in general, a lot of those people do seriously think that if you lift weights, you'll get taller or
Or at
some
least they
shit.
talk like that. They like if somebody's like, "Oh, I'm really short. What do I do?" And someone's like, "Well, why don't you try lifting weights?" And it's like, but that doesn't make you taller. And it's like, you what? I don't know. I think by that point,
I mean,
or by
I
this
would
point,
still
people have made
recommend
fun
that
of that
people, if you
enough.
want to fucking take care of yourself, if you want to lift weights, nobody needs more discouragement from getting fit or getting in shape. You
Yeah,
need more encouragement.
yeah. If anything,
We don't need people being told not to fucking get fit.
yeah, or to at least to exercise in any way. Not even lifting weights, but to at least exercise and that kind of thing. But the funny thing is, this comic is essentially about a guy who's trying to get fit or to
He
lift
wants to
and get
be,
way in
he wants
shape
to be in with
because
the
he
chicks.
wants a woman.
He wants to be in with the hot chicks
Yes,
and
and
get
then
hot.
fucking at the end of it goes out on a date where a woman is and again without dialogue, it's pretty spelled out as she is talking about how she's getting like double teamed and all this stuff, and then just cuts back to the guy, and now he's not lifting weights for hoping for a woman.
This is an
He's
edit, I
lifting
think.
weights just for Hitler. For Hitler.
I think this is an edit.
It might be, but yeah, if the other version probably just doesn't have the Hitler poster or something, it's just for
But it's
nothing.
also this is a good example of fucking writing without dialogue.
Hmm.
You're totally right. And if he worked for Marvel and made this comic, he would not have gotten paid because he didn't write any words.
Yeah. Um, but yeah, again, it also goes to show how just one comic, like one page of a comic, can make more of a point than like thousands and thousands of books in the print industry, in the American comics industry. This comic will probably be seen more by people than any Marvel or DC comic made in the past 50 years,
Hopefully,
possibly 100 years.
yeah, that would be easy. That's fucking easy
This is
to
why
get.
we talk about webcomics. We have since the beginning, and that's why we talk about webcomics now today too. One of the reasons why we don't talk
That's
about
another
comic books is because they're
extremely
stupid.
important and pertinent point. Is this person didn't want their name in lights. This person didn't want to be known as the highest paid webcomic creator. He didn't care about any of that. He made it because he wanted to make a point. He wanted to make this point, this piece of art, this fucking entire concept spelled out in something as simple as possible, straightforward, in as few strokes as possible. Just not even with words. Doesn't even require words. Doesn't even require a wall of text. Doesn't require green text or somebody fucking spewing a bunch of bullshit. It's just simply a series of ideas spelled out in
Yeah,
images.
it doesn't require a language even. So that way, it doesn't have to be translated for anyone. Anyone in any country can look at this and know what the point is at least. Um, Anyways, so yeah, that's in a way this is the fucking recommended comic of the week is just look at this comic. There, you have seen it. It's sort of like the chicken game. Don't look at this chicken, and then it just says game over the chicken.
It's you've lost the game.
You
It's like the
the game,
fucking
or at the very least the game has ended.
It's like
Anyways,
look, it's like he passes. It's the fucking Perry Bible Fellowship edit where he passes the note, and the note just fucking says, "Look at the top right corner," and then the top right corner is just a really small text saying, "Look at the bottom left corner." The bottom left corner says, "Fucking file name," and the file name will either be the game you lost, or it'll just be a series of numbers based on who fucking already downloaded it. So that doesn't even matter anymore.
yeah, so that it just fucks with you and it's like now I'll never know what the point was supposed to be.
I don't know what the game is. What is the game?
Or
I'll
sometimes it's
never
like
know.
look in the upper left and then look in the lower right and then look at this and then look at that, look at the middle, look at the bottom middle and that kind of stuff. And at the end of all of it, it just says, good job. It's just fucking. And again, that's one of the goofy things
That's
that
better than
comics can
Cyberfrog.
do that you
That
can
is
really only do
better.
with webcomics.
That is better than Cyberfrog. It's better than anything.
Yeah, of course. Cyberfrog, not even worth bringing up as a comparison, of course. But we do it just because. I mean, there's like you could say better than Captain America, better than Superman, that kind of shit. It's all the same thing.
That'd be too obvious, too easy.
Just yeah, we would rather bring up an embarrassing thing by a person who has recently had a lot of embarrassing, hilarious situations that we've been laughing at and laughing about. And especially in the videos behind the paywall. So again,
Paywall is where the really raunchy, fucking unpleasant, unkind trolling is.
or the at least the really funny stuff, or sometimes all of the above.
It's like the Sam Hyde level quality of fucking
So is
trolling
this,
that
of
we do.
course. Just
That's
that
where the
most
Sam
people.
Hyde
The thing
stuff
is
is.
that it's usually ahead of time. You have to already have a lot of followers for people to accept that, and without fucking already having the followers, people don't accept it.
The gay followers, gay
Gay.
popularity.
But anyways, so yeah, get the word out to the Norm Groids that Shitty Webcomics is reviewing webcomics, and
Smelly, dumb, normal scum.
yeah, and donate to our Subscribe Star to support us or get access to the all the extra bonus videos where we go in super deep and hard about even more comics, of all sorts of various kinds. And shit, there was I was gonna say that yeah, we did that big reading of Lightbringer recently, but also we did some deep dives into criminal behavior and in general gay ops of a lot of beloved YouTubers that doesn't really get acknowledged or admitted to by the normal
Some of the
cattle.
okay, it's stuff that will be acknowledged later. It'll come up later, and people will be like, "Oh no, how did this happen? We warned you a year in advance."
Yeah, that's
Sometimes
like
years in
the
advance.
exact same thing happened. Like if you were listening to us from the beginning, you would have already seen the whole Ethan Ralph meltdown coming, like an entire year ahead of time. Or and not the meltdown necessarily, but you would have been fucking red sunglasses, which is the level way beyond the red pill. The mere normie cattle red pill. That's for the tourists. Swallowing
Piddling
the red
red pill,
sunglasses for the real N
piddling
words.
pathetic red pill.
Yes. Anyways, So yeah, unlike, share, whatever.
Do the John Malin or don't. I don't care.
Yeah, who cares? Do the
John
John
Malin.
Malin, do the Mike S. Miller, where you subscribe, unsubscribe, and resubscribe. Do the Ethan Van Sciver, where you subscribe under multiple different sock puppet accounts, and then fucking get so like leave comments where you're pissed off at us, and then we give you the pin of shame, and you get so embarrassed that you actually stop commenting on
You
your
have to
own.
shut down your entire precious sock account that you've had since 2011. You have to fucking just stop using.
You burned it. You burned it, and it was for nothing. Anyways, yeah. So again, though, if you want to support or if you want to just keep up with what everyone else will be saying in a year, that should be our other sub catchphrase. If you want to find out what everyone else will be saying next year,
We're also saying it better. We're still saying it better.
yeah, then keep up with us, and you'll find out that you should have listened to Shitty Web Comics.